Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Josh, joined today by Ben Roy Turner.
Good afternoon or good morning. When is it? I don't know.
I don't know when these go up, to be honest. It could be either, so we'll just cover both bases. Ben Roy, if you were around on the internet last night, you probably noticed that the first ever image, or at least first ever official image, of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake from the upcoming Uncharted movie has just dropped. And the internet certainly has opinions. I think me and you are a little bit split on what we think about this entire project, which is why I think this might be an interesting video. But just as a kind of initial reaction, what was your initial reaction to these set photos dropping?
It's hard because straight away, there's so much to unpack here, because Tom Holland, in my eyes, I've only ever seen him in the Spider-Man films and Avengers, so I see him as a little child of a human, even though he's not, and he's ripped and he's a man in his own right. But then I just can't. To me, it's like starting with the young Indiana Jones films before you had that brilliant trilogy of films. I'm diving straight in. Sorry, too much straight away, but I just don't see it. I mean, I see it. It looks great, but at the same time, I don't know if it was the right direction to go. That's my first little bit of thoughts.
No, I think that's a total fair analysis. I think it's fair to dive that deep, because I think that's the sentiment that a lot of people, at least what I saw online, were having last night. People were going, the costume looks good. You've absolutely nailed the look of at least the first few games version of Nathan Drake. Everything from the accessories to the color to the way it even fits and hangs on the actor, looks absolutely spot on. But I think there is still this worry that no matter how good the aesthetic might be, the core concept is just a little off. To have this young Nathan Drake with a presumably younger Sully just kind of seems to almost completely transform the foundations of what an Uncharted movie is, because it's in this weird space for me. I think it's not that they're doing a proper young Nathan Drake, because Tom Holland is 24 now, I think. So it's not like they're going to be doing a 16 17-year-old version of Nathan Drake Peter Parker is in Spider-Man or whatever. But also you're not getting the 30+ version of Nathan Drake from the game. So we're in this kind of strange space. Like you said, it's almost like a young Indiana Jones is slightly before what people kind of want out of the character, which is it's an interesting way to go about it, especially because we've got Mark Wahlberg's Sully, who we haven't admittedly seen much of yet. But even that in itself is an absolute mad fact in my eyes. It's one of my favorite movie facts that originally that Mark Wahlberg was cast as Nathan Drake, but this project has been in development hell for so long that now he's being cast as Sully. It's such a strange little twist in the tale. But overall, genuinely, I am quite excited for this, because when it comes to video game movies, like I've said in the past, I don't mind if they do something slightly different from the games, because I've got the games. I've got a great version of that story already, especially when it comes to Naughty Dog games. I don't need to see that adapted to the screen directly, because I think the games themselves are cinematic enough. So I'm open to a kind of slightly altered interpretation, as long as that interpretation is good and it makes sense and the performers bring their A game. But are you one of these people who would love to see Nathan Fillion in the the lead role and do a proper Uncharted from the games transferred over to the screen? Or
I think that's the way they probably should have gone with it first. I want Nathan Drake to be maybe have had 2 marriages that have failed by now and be down on his luck a bit and pretending that he's this treasure hunter, but really he's trying to pay the rent sort of thing. And I wanted a more weathered character. I don't need my video game adaptations to be 1-to-1 a la the Resident Evil films. I'll lap them up like a kitten drinking out the saucer of milk, and until it's the Last of Us, where if you change anything, then I'm just gonna go insane. I'm just gonna be one of those people on Twitter. How dare you ruin the thing I love? But I digress. Let's move on. With the Uncharted things, I just think it's because we've had young Nathan Drake in the games before, but I just think because they're not leading with the Nathan Drake that the sort of charm that we imagine he's going to have. And also I think that there's one part of his costume, Josh, that you said it was a really good costume, and it is, and I think it as well, but there's one aspect that they missed, and this was pointed out by Neil Druckmann on Twitter. Do you know what it might be?
Oh, I don't know. I'm always bad at these kind of spot
Yeah.
the difference games, so I've almost certainly missed this. So I'm quite excited. What is it? What have we missed? What key feature?
Half of his shirt wasn't tucked in. So
Oh no!
if they're missing out the details like that, then this is going to be a crap movie. It's all failed. But no, I have faith.
That's a good point.
It's just I know why they're doing this, because they want to probably do like, say, 6 or 7 of these probably, and they want Tom Holland to grow into the role. So I mean, like, it depends how quickly they get these movies out, because movies take at least 3 years now. Maybe, like, it depends if you're doing a juggernaut of a film. It could be even longer. But say we get 3 Uncharted movies, 3 years apiece. Like 9 years later, we're gonna finally get to some sort of like older Nathan Drake sort of thing. So it's definitely they're gearing up for a series, right? And they want to start early, and then that's what I keep trying to think that in my mind. They're gonna get to that, but at first it's gonna be jarring for me. I mean, I didn't have problems with the newest Tomb Raider films having Lara Croft a bit younger than she was in the original 2 that we got. I mean, the new one was fine, I thought. So I mean, Sony have a lot of money riding on the Uncharted series as it is, and we're going to get what they rebooted in the games, and I don't mind a different take on it in the films. I just have to get off my keyboard and just sit and wait for some sort of actual trailer footage.
No, because I don't think it's entirely unjust that you're keeping your cards close to the chest, or you're keeping, cautious about the whole project. 'Cause, I mean, if we look at the state of video game movies, in the past, Resident Evil notwithstanding, because I know we both have a soft spot for that, like, they haven't been good, and more importantly, they haven't really been authentic. Like I said, I don't mind if they change details, as long as you capture the spirit, or at least some kind of essence of the games. Like, I do get annoyed when you just take sort of elements from a game and you don't really know why they work to begin with, but you throw it in just as fan service. I thought the second Silent Hill movie was a huge kind of disappointment because of that, because they wasted so many great concepts, and admittedly the Resident Evil series does that quite a lot as well when it comes to certain characters that get adapted. But what kind of like gives me a bit of hope, and I don't know why I'm so optimistic about this, because I've been burnt so many times before, but what gives me a bit of hope is that this is the first video game movie by the PlayStation studios themselves. Obviously it comes under the Sony umbrella, but recently I think it was Sean Layden who helped start up the PlayStation division, the movie division, and they are handling this project, obviously after it's been through a few writers and directors beforehand. But the fact that they've got, like, Neil Druckmann even making jokes, or they've got Nolan North tweeted that he was on set with Tom Holland, like, the fact that they've got these people behind it makes me more optimistic that it might be an authentic experience, even if it is different from the games. I hope so anyway. I hope that PlayStation, as the movie studio, knows how to do their greatest IP justice, knows how to really bring to life their games to the screen in a way that isn't just these shameless cash grabs that we've seen so many times before.
Yeah, and it's weird because they're putting their 2 biggest feet forward really with Uncharted, which I think really works. Like most video games, you look at them, or books, you look at them, there's too much there for an actual film. But with Uncharted, I think you could condense a lot of the fluff, because a lot of Uncharted seems to be like climbing somewhere and chatting, or walking through like the forest and chatting. So you can condense that down, and you can get really tight, sort of like hour and a half, 2 hour movie at that sort of thing. Whereas, like, say that The Last of Us is going to be a series, and I feel like if this pops off, then what's next? Horizon, God of War, like they've got a bounty, a wealth of stuff to dig into and go for. It's just, and they've already done Ratchet and Clank a few years back, which was received well.
Yeah,
so it's weird because, like, I mean, some people liked it, and what Resident Evil's gearing up for another cinematic push. So I'm always here for these properties to get, because they're so cinematic as they are, like, I'm always ready for them to, like, have another stab at these sort of things. But yeah, if Sony's putting their 2 biggest feet forward with this and then the Last of Us series, then I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt. But, like, as most video game adaptations, Silent Hill 2, it could turn out terrible, but I don't think it will, with Tom Holland behind it. Like, not that he's the greatest actor of all time, but I feel like he's going to protect his name and his brand that he's built up through the Marvel films over the years.
Yeah, totally. I think he has picked at least interesting roles since he has joined the MCU as Spider-Man, and hopefully that does translate to this, and hopefully, it does well. Hopefully it does spawn this series so we can get to the point, like you said, in 6 years' time or whatever, that we get a kind of more mature Nathan Drake, and we do get to experience that side of the character. But we'll have to see how this movie turns out. Apparently it's coming out in July 2021, should everything go to plan and theaters be open and stuff. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. What were your first reactions to seeing Nathan Drake in the actual flesh, played by Tom Holland? And are you looking forward to seeing Mark Wahlberg's Sully? And what do you think about the movie project in general? Has this made you more enamored with the idea of an Uncharted movie, or are you still not quite convinced? Let us know down there. And while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Brune with 2 O's, joined by Ben Roy Turner, who you can follow on Twitter at
Ben Roy Turner. And when this film comes out in July 2021, I'll be 30.
Oh God, what a thought. See you later.
Bye.